Hi guys, welcome to another weekly Laser Talk, and we'll be looking at the deluxe letterbox edition of Robert De Niro in Raging Bull. Another really good gatefold here for the glare there. But a beautiful release and a great film, a Martin Scorsese film that, like much of his work, it's a great example of a film that is almost more of an art piece more than just an entertainment piece, and you see that in every frame. It's one of those films where you really pay close attention to every frame as it's moving along, and you can't really just casually watch it and really get into it and enjoy it. It's something you really sit down to and look at it more as an event, as an investment for a little over 2 hours. A fantastic movie and some really great creative choices. I'm so glad they went with the black and white on this movie, and it really works really well. And some of the color, like old film reel moments in there that are really nice, but the black and white looks really good in some of the scenes, and it makes it feel more like it took place in the 40s, which is when this movie takes place, not just because of the fantastic set pieces, the amazing acting from everyone. Everyone in the cast does a great job and is totally believable in their characters, but the choice to shoot it in black and white really, I think, transports you a little. It's a little more believable. You really get into the setting a little bit more, and it doesn't feel quite as much of a movie that is a period piece. It feels more like it's really from that time, and I think that's the difference. You really don't have that disconnect. You really feel more like you're almost watching, a 40s film, but quality beyond what they were capable of at the time as far as cinematography, video quality, that type of thing. Done really well, and what makes this movie work for me compared to a lot of other sports films, the same thing that I think the first two Rockies especially did, was the focus is more not on the fights themselves, but more on the development of the characters, and the fight is really the culmination of events that are happening. It's, you look at, Jake picking up Vicky at the pool and all these different relationship issues going on and the different points in his life. If you really watch what goes on within the individual fights, it's just sort of the period at the end of the sentence of that phase of his life. And as things change, the way the fights are presented changes. The way he acts in the fights is presented differently depending on what's going on in his life. It works really, really well. It's my second favorite De Niro performance after Taxi Driver. Really great movie. It's not one. It's never hit me quite as emotionally. It never became as attached, I'd say, to Raging Bull as they did Rocky and especially those first couple movies. But it's still just a fantastic movie and a very different movie from those. It's a movie that, if you've never seen it before, because I know a lot of my friends that are, I've always grown up with like Rocky and stuff like that. This has fallen a little bit more to the wayside, I think, unless you're more of a big De Niro fan or more of a film buff. I think this isn't quite as commonplace. I don't think this is quite as in like the public consciousness as the Rocky films, or even some of the better known pictures from the 40s, which this somewhat emulates. I think the best way to describe it for people to think of it in terms of better known movies, if you take in a way The Godfather and Rocky and kind of put them together, tonally, a lot of the scenes are a little more like The Godfather in a way. That's oversimplifying what this movie is, but I think in a lot of ways that's kind of a good way to express what you're getting into when you get into this movie. That's kind of a little bit of a combination there. And De Niro's character, he's done so fantastically well. He just does such a great job. You really feel this character who's not really a great guy. He's not really a great hero to emulate, and no one really is in this movie. And I think that's part of why they feel so real and feel so flawed, and you really get into this world. He's a character that's very much driven by rage and insecurity. He's a very insecure character who can't face those insecurities, and whenever he's confronted with them, whenever he's confronted with his obsessions and his constant jealousy, he gives into rage and finds unhealthy ways of dealing with those emotions, and that's really what drives this character. And overall, it comes together so completely. It's one of those movies that I don't really have any specific complaints from it from a storytelling standpoint, from the way it was shot, musical score, the sound. I love the way the sound was done because it uses music very creatively. There are large stretches of near silence, or you'll just hear a song playing very far away in the background, as if someone 2 apartments over is playing a record, that type of thing. It doesn't really have just constant background sound. In those moments of silence is where you really focus your attention, really get to know these characters, and the music is used sparsely, but in a very effective way. When the music really does come in, especially when it comes louder into the action, it really works well with those scenes. And I think that's the best thing about this movie, is how everything is just crafted to create a very realistic portrayal of a time, of a place, of people that don't have this sort of, there's no real hero in the movie. There's no real like, oh wow, I really want to be that character. I feel driven to better myself by watching this. It's a very different take, again, comparing it to Rocky, just because I know that's very well known. But yeah, Raging Bull, just a great movie, and looks fantastic on LaserDisc. And another reason why I've found that animation and black and white movies, particularly older animation, look really good on LaserDisc compared to DVD or Blu-ray. As soon as you get into a little bit more modern movies and TV shows, especially as you get towards the end of the life of LaserDisc, a lot of stuff, DVD or Blu-ray can look a little bit better overall. But with a lot of black and white stuff, and since this was filmed in black and white, I think it's almost universally looks better on LaserDisc. So a really great release, one you should check out, and a fantastic movie if you haven't seen it. It's kind of one reason why I wanted to talk about this movie, because I know it's a movie that a lot of people out there have never seen but would really, really like. It's one I just never hear anyone talk about, even when you're talking about sports movies or boxing movies in particular. This kind of comes up as more of a, oh yeah, I've heard about that, it's supposed to be good. I haven't really met very many people who have actually sat down and watched this whole thing, and it's a fantastic movie, a wonderful movie. Again, I said from a personal standpoint, I never quite had the emotional attachment to this compared to Rocky, but it's one that I think is an amazing movie that you need to, again, set aside time to sit and watch it and really experience it. It's not one you can casually watch. It's one that I think you really have to be really just engrossed and involved in the experience and very focused on it to get the most out of it. I think otherwise it's one of those that a lot of it you'll just kind of pass you by, and you'll miss a lot of the greatness of this movie.